My thesis is that because of Prohibition, crime in the 1920s to 1930s became more of a business venture rather than an act of revenge or need. A favorite pastime of men in America has always been consuming alcohol. In our society even now, events from tailgating sports teams to partying require alcohol to be deemed fun. In the 1900s, people had a very similar attitude, as alcohol was seen as necessary in social settings. However, access to this drug would soon be limited, or so the government believed. For years, the Women's Christian Temperance Union and the Anti-Saloon League had been trying to ban alcohol in the United States. There were many reasons for banning alcohol. First, alcohol was believed to increase domestic abuse, such as wife-beating and child abuse. In addition, intoxicated workers were less able to work to the extent of their ability. Also, due to World War I, Prohibition was supposed to help the war effort by allowing grain to be made into bread for soldiers rather than into alcohol. Finally, since many breweries were German-owned, Prohibition was seen as patriotic. In 1920, Congress passed the 18th Amendment to the Constitution, banning the manufacture, sale, and transportation of alcohol for the purpose of consumption. Due to the studies of Jeffrey Myron of the Department of Economics at Boston University and Jeffrey Zwiebel of the Department of Economics at MIT, we can have a somewhat accurate estimation of alcohol use during Prohibition. Myron and Zwiebel report that even though studies were inaccurate due to the illegal nature of drinking alcohol during Prohibition, it can be estimated that by the end of Prohibition, there was approximately the same amount of alcohol consumption as there was prior to it. However, the beginning of Prohibition had been somewhat successful with an estimated 30% decrease in alcohol consumption. The question then becomes, why did alcohol consumption rates go back up during Prohibition? Illegal bars provided alcohol to the many people who craved it. These were called speakeasies. The music you hear now is a typical song that would be playing in a speakeasy. Speakeasies were hidden bars that looked like normal coffee shops. To get inside, people had to provide a password to prevent cop raids. A humorous example of a speakeasy is shown in this clip from the Marx Brothers movie, Horsefeathers.
Hey, Baravelli.
What do you want?
Watch the door for a few minutes, and don't let anyone in without the password.
All right, what is it?
Swordfish is the password, do you understand?
Okay, I got it.
Well, what is it?
Password.
Swordfish! Swordfish!
Right, the swordfish, the swordfish.
Ah.
Piazza muscles in the rumpo la faccia dozzi pazzi. Who are you?
I'm fine, thanks. Who are you?
I'm fine, too, but you can't come in unless you give the password.
Oh, what is the password?
Oh, no, you gotta tell me. Hey, I tell what I do, I give you 3 guesses. It's the name of a fish.
Is it Mary?
That's no fish.
She isn't. Well, she drinks like one. Let me see. Is it sturgeon?
Hey, you crazy. Sturgeon, he's a doctor who cuts you open when you're sick. Now, I give you one more chance.
I got it. Haddock.
That's so funny. I got a headache, too.
What do you take for a haddock?
Well, now, sometimes I take aspirin, or sometimes I take a calomel.
Say, I'd walk a mile for a calomel.
You mean chocolate calomel. I like that, too, but you know, guess it. Hey, what's the matter? You don't understand English? You can't come in here unless you say swordfish. Now, I'll give you one more guess.
Swordfish. Swordfish. I think I got it. Is it swordfish?
That's it. You guess it.
Pretty good, huh?
Fine. You guess it.
What do you want?
I want to come in.
What's the password?
Oh, you're no fool of me. Swordfish.
No, I got tired of that. I changed it.
What's the password now?
Gee, I forgot it. I better come outside with you.
Speakeasies were mainly supplied by bootleggers, people who smuggled in alcohol, mostly from Canada. Another reason for the consumption rates increasing was due to the inability of the government to stop people from consuming alcohol. As digitalhistory.edu states, quote, Prohibition quickly produced bootleggers, speakeasies, moonshine, bathtub gin, and rum runners smuggling supplies of alcohol across state lines. In 1927, there were an estimated 30,000 illegal speakeasies, twice the number of legal bars before Prohibition. Many people made beer and wine at home. It was relatively easy finding a doctor to sign a prescription for medicinal whiskey sold at drugstores. End quote. 1920 to 1930.com states, quote, President Harding kept the White House well stocked with bootleg liquor, though, as a senator, he had voted for Prohibition. This discrepancy between legality and actual practice led to widespread contempt for authority. Over time, more people drank illegally, and so money ended up in gangsters' pockets." End quote. Thus, people were able to find many ways around this law. In addition to the risks of unskilled people trying to make alcohol at home, the most dangerous part of the acceptance of speakeasies was that everybody from a common person to the president was letting himself help increase illegal activity in society at the expense of the law. Note that from the paper cited earlier, alcohol consumption during Prohibition closely matched that from before Prohibition. This means that criminal groups managed to supply all the alcohol needed to people, showing the extent to which these organizations work like a business as they managed to completely replace legal establishments. Organized crime was able to grow from the increase of profitable crime in the alcohol business due to Prohibition. Before Prohibition, criminals acted out of anger, or because of necessity such as due to a lack of food. What Prohibition provided to criminals was an enterprise, or a market just for them. Since alcohol became illegal, criminals could control the alcohol trade and were able to treat it as a business, thus creating organized crime syndicates that dealt with the manufacture, sale, and transportation of alcohol. For all of this to be controlled by one group requires planning, unity, and leadership, thus requiring organized crime. In this way, criminal groups managed to become very rich and crime became very profitable. A prime example of the growth of organized crime is that of Al Capone. Capone built his criminal empire off of profits from illegal alcohol. He was able to coordinate his people to the extent where he could relax in Florida while his gang members carried out his orders in Chicago. ChicagoHS.org reports, quote, "Capone controlled speakeasies, bookie joints, gambling houses, brothels, horse and race tracks, nightclubs, distilleries, and breweries at a reported income of $100 million a year." On December 5, 1933, the 21st Amendment was ratified, thereby repealing Prohibition. However, these criminal syndicates did not just disband. Thus, Prohibition led to the permanent creation of organized crime.